Good morning, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 10:02 a.m. This meeting is being recorded by the Community Relations Committee. If any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify the chairperson at this time. First, we'll do a roll call of members and guests will introduce themselves. So Councillor Sarah Brown, present. Christy Allen, absent. So Larry Thomas, absent. You can't come this morning. Reese McGovern,
Present.
Robin Green,
Present.
Pamela Goodwin,
Here.
Zoe Smith. Not here yet. So that we still have a quorum, so that's great. And then if guests want to introduce themselves, we can go around the table.
I'm Pamela McBride with the Greenfield Public Library.
I'm Emma Coles with the 3 County COC. I'm Vega with the 3 County COC as well.
Patty Wheelan with the Greenfield Human Rights Commission.
Thank you. Great. And first we have approval of minutes from July 10th and July 31st. Is there a motion to?
I have some amendments.
Oh, great. So first we'll
Do you first want to?
make a motion. To,
Okay, I move that we look at the minutes, please.
Seconded.
thanks.
So mine are going to be kind of vague because I couldn't go all the way through. I know that when we're listed who's present, I'm not a counselor, and so I would like it to say members. Zoe is also not a counselor, so I can't remember whether it was the July 10th or the July 31st. It says people present and it says counselors. So I would just recommend that that get changed to members. And since you're the only counselor. And then I have a correction for how to spell Officer Jake's last name. Would you like me to spell it out or, okay, it's, this is from his email and I've spoken with him many times. So his last name is spelled Macleay. And if anybody wants an email for him, I guess they can like check in with you, Sarah, as the chair. Okay, unless you want me to say what it is. He gave it to me.
That's okay. That seems good. And then one more amendment to add is that it's Emma Coles with an S at the end. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So those I think are the amendments. Any other amendments? Okay, motion to approve the minutes with those amendments.
Second.
Great. All in favor? And so that passes. Now I should approve the main motion, I think. So all in favor of approving the main motion of approving the minutes. Moving on. Public comment. All we have is Councillor Perry, if you'd like to say anything on public comment.
Just how great of a job you guys are doing. I really appreciate all the effort and all the work and all the time that people are putting into this topic. It's very encouraging to hear all the work that you guys are doing. So thank you very much for that. Thank
you. What a lovely public comment to start off with. Keep it coming. So, great. So now let's get into some announcements and just hearing from our guests. Basically any type of updates are good, but if you want to start off maybe with the summer point in time count. Yes.
Yeah, for Greenfield, what was counted were 20 individuals experiencing homelessness that completed the surveys. This number might most likely has not encompassed all of them, but those are who were surveyed. Overall in Franklin County, there were 23 that were counted, so the majority being in Greenfield. Do you have anything else to add that's important to know?
Not about the point in time count, but
Sure,
I
anything.
see something about so the state put out a request for information, I think 2 weeks ago, to inform the money they're gonna make available for winter bed needs and other things for the unsheltered in the winter months. And they are asking both providers and municipalities to respond, and the responses are due tomorrow, and City of Greenfield is planning on responding. And I sent an email saying that this group had done a survey that has some qualitative data if they're interested. I've also reached out to some outreach providers to get an idea of how many unsheltered people they're seeing. And Larry's away this week, but I did connect with someone from Elliott. And she said that they're seeing like 200 people unsheltered in Greenfield. I'm gonna get some more information from her because that seems incredibly high, but if that is the case, like that is really important to know and just shows how much of like an undercount our pit count is. An important step, but yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, sorry, I don't need to raise my hand. 20 sounds reasonable based on people who are like in encampments, based on my observation with some police officers. But that was one of the things Larry had said was difficult was he is not able to get into the campsites. So my question was, who else was helping him, since it was something the state required, and since, I just thought he was struggling with it.
Yeah.
And it's not just that, but he's, needed a bit of a break, as some of us know. So we know there's transitory people. They're coming from Orange, they're coming from Springfield to Northampton to on up here. And I'm talking to a lot of them downtown Greenfield. They like the community that they're with, speaking with some people are not unhoused. They just come in and kind of hang with them. And that man from Montague who's housed, and he was picking up trash kind of like I do. So that's why I think the 20 is very deceptive. And they're here. I interviewed someone who's living on a mountain somewhere by himself, and doesn't want to be in with the camps, 2 locations and so forth. So, and I do know we're getting ready to look at what's happening this winter because it's August and it's late August practically. So I don't know how to get an accurate count on that either. It's the first time, I believe, that you've had a summer request, right? It's usually a winter.
Yes, we did a summer count 2 years ago, but we're not required to do it. It's something we choose to do. And the point about the capacity in Greenfield and how it has been Larry primarily and how that is a problem. It's a very good point. I know CHG has a new outreach worker who is in Franklin County. So hopefully that individual can start to help more. But yeah.
And what was the date? There was one specific date it was to happen. Do you remember? Because I don't have it.
July 20th.
July 20th was when we were supposed to figure out who was sleeping where. Only on that day.
Throughout that week, asking about that night.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's one particular night, but you have a week or so to
Yeah.
get the information.
Where did you sleep?
Because I remember that's what he said. He said, I can't track these people down to do the paperwork, even if he found them downtown, So yeah, I think he needs a lot of assistance with that. And I do not think it should fall on him.
Yes, I agree 100%.
I was just gonna say in regards to the numbers, there have been at least 2 times, well, for me, and I know that I've been downstairs in the periodical lounge where the community surveys are, and I've met someone who I know is unhoused and said, have you filled out this survey? And I've gotten the brush off. So I think that's another point is that people don't necessarily want to be identified.
Pit count survey is anonymous.
Yes, I was actually talking about the community
Oh, the
survey,
community
which
survey,
is also
okay.
anonymous,
Yeah.
which we are posting at the library. So I wasn't specifically, but I was just talking about the pit count.
And we had actually waited to distribute these surveys because we didn't want to have overlapping collection time with the pit count survey, because I don't want people to think that they've done one and not do the other, Yeah, those are still coming in. We're still getting them through interviews. We're getting a few through the library. So they're getting collected, slowly but surely. I wanted to ask, I saw the email that you sent. I haven't responded to it yet because I wanted to get a little more clarity on what kind of information the state is looking for, because I definitely have information that I can share with them from the community surveys. But I want to like pick the stuff that's most relevant to their ask. So if they're asking about beds, I'm going to give them a different set of pieces of information than if they're asking about like, what are things that people wish were available when they walk into a shelter, right? So
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about what that ask actually is?
Yeah, so I think there was like 6 or 7 bullet points that they want municipalities and providers to respond to. And one of them is like, what are the other needs of the unsheltered in your community? And so like that is a very broad question, obviously. But I know that on your survey, I think that was one of your questions, like, what else do you need? So just like beyond just a shelter bed, like, what do you want at the shelter? What do you need outside of a shelter? You could really take it in any direction, I think.
Okay, then I can respond to that later today with some information.
And can I just remind people, we don't even have a shelter. We have a warming center that we will be using again, Salvation Army. I just talked to Amy Kaleen recently, and one need that she and I talked about that I know of is there's no breakfast on Sunday morning. So when they get up, taking all their belongings, leaving, there's no place to go and eat unless they have money or can, go to Wendy's, or if they have SNAP somewhere. So that's one thing I do remember thinking about. And so it's just remembering that they're on the floor in a warming center, staying warm, hopefully can have a shower there, using facilities, plugging their phones in. And until the Well Street opens and that 34 other beds and the others, they're very limited.
I'd ask, sorry, silly question. Is One Arch Place not a shelter?
It's my understanding that they can go there for some meals at CSO.
Okay,
And so I think people are maybe there. I believe they can even shower there, because when we first said, where are these people? They moved some into the Arch Street place. I think they can shower there. I believe they also can do laundry there, because they're not allowed in the laundromats in town. That's nowhere where, even though the one on Federal, they're open at 6, but they really don't want the homeless there. That's what we're finding. They don't want unhoused people anywhere.
so there are beds at One Arch Place.
Yes.
I believe so.
I think the issue is they can't add any additional beds because of the space capacity. And so they can't add any like emergency beds this winter.
Understood. Thank you.
But they are open, like their community space, I think is like 8:30 to 4:30 every day. People can go shower, do laundry, just hang out.
Gotcha.
I don't know about rules of like what behavior is not allowed, and if you do this, you can't ever come back, that kind of thing, but I know that they are open.
And I don't know what the requirements are for securing a bed there. Like, I'm not sure if it's specific population.
I just misunderstood because I heard we don't have a shelter. But I think
It's a capacity.
Shelter with
Okay.
available beds.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep, they're loaded up. is
Okay.
my understanding.
I'm on board. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else that you all have been working on that feels? I mean, of course, lots of things you're working on. Like,
I can't think of any, but
I mean, one thing I can share after the meeting the details for, but I am going to be hosting on an ongoing basis trainings for those that would like to become coordinated entry assessors, those that are working with the homeless that would like to complete assessments to have them connected to the 3 county COC's resources, and I can send the registration information. I'm doing one today, which is a little too soon, but then I'll be doing it on the 3rd Thursday of every month.
And where do you do that?
It's a paper assessment, but the training itself is over Zoom so that it's accessible to folks.
So how do we find out what the 7 or 6 bullet points are, once you
On the
are meeting.
RMI. Or-
Yeah, that the state is looking for example. I think Reese is gonna meet with you guys, right?
No, I was,
An email was sent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think in the email, the PDF was included, and if not, I can just send it. It's like a 5-page thing. I
Did that
could,
go to Tim, do you know?
Well, it didn't go,
Is it?
it didn't go to the unhoused committee.
Yeah.
It just went to Reese.
Okay, I guess I'm requesting that it come to the committee, because I also would like to know, since I'm a volunteer over at the warming center.
Sure.
Like, I want to know what it is the state is thinking of doing, because the money
On their
makes a
website.
huge difference. We don't get the money. We got to figure out, other than Amy Clark from Interfaith Council and whatever is given to Wildflower Alliance. No, that's. If that can come to all of us, I think that would be great.
yeah, I can do that.
Okay,
Thanks, Emma.
And you sent the survey already. Sure. Well, I'll get into it later.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so some other announcements, these are quick. These are both announcements from Springfield No One Leaves, that there's an eviction ceiling clinic. Date and time and location has been chosen, September 29, 5:30 PM at the Brick House in Turner's Falls. So if you know people who have been evicted and would like to seal their records, then they can get support in this session.
What's that date again?
September 29, 5:30 PM at the Brick House. And then also there's the kickoff of the rent control campaign to get on the 2026 ballot. So there's going to be a 10-week signature drive starting in September. And you can't get more than 20,000 signatures from every county, so we can't just like rely on Boston area to carry this. So trying to have folks up and down Franklin County and the River Valley doing this as well. And so there's a kickoff with Springfield No One Leaves for August 27th at 6 PM. And
I
that,
just say you do have to register, because I just registered.
yeah,
So,
do you
you
register?
can't figure out how to use this Bitly stuff, which I hate. I already got it from somebody.
Oh, good.
Anyway, and you just sign up and say, boom, then they immediately sent me the link.
Awesome.
Because I think that's really important for everybody.
And even if you can't make it, still sign up, because if you want to be involved at all, then you'll get updates that way. So that's something going on that is important. And then something else, another Zoom, same day, criminalizing people who are unhoused, getting some updates on like federal legislation from the National Homelessness Law Center and the Massachusetts Coalition for the Homeless. And that's same day, August 27th at noon. So these are all in the agenda. Those are my announcements. Anyone have other? I also have 2 more actually, sorry. But if anyone else wants to pepper an announcement first.
we're going to do a pickup this weekend.
Yes, that's later on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
But yes, thank you.
The other announcement that I will one is that Pittsfield is criminalizing homelessness, if folks have seen any of the news coming from that.
Pittsfield is?
Yes, they are having a lot of problems right now.
Yeah, I just like read a little article, but if you know anything else.
I don't know too much, but we cover the Berkshires, and in one of our meetings yesterday, one of our board members, she was saying that she feels like the housing providers and like homelessness side of things aren't in the conversation well enough, like countering the negative narratives and stereotypes. And so we are thinking of like, how can we address that? But I just know that there's a lot of like tension in Pittsfield right now, and people think that people are getting bussed in from like out of state and other places in the state and like blah, 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 just all the typical things that people say.
And then,
Can I just add to that? Because even in Greenfield, I have had people, friends of mine, I'm not safe downtown. I'm not coming there. I'm not gonna go into town. I can't bring my children in. And possibly the language is the issue. You know, like I know little kids don't need to be listening to some of that. So, but I certainly am downtown all the time and I don't feel like I'm in danger. And if we go back to what Wissy had said about building a community alongside of them and having group activities, I have yet to see anybody unhoused participate in the Friday night thing down here with people of all ages. But maybe this week, and we're distributing flyers, it's all over. There's only 2 more Friday night free things on the common. Maybe, you know, that's community activity where I wish that we could just somehow knit people together. But I am hearing that from other people who are just pretty disgusted. And to be honest, I just say you're one huge health event away from also becoming unhoused. I try to be very delicate because these are people that I know and associate with, which I find it kind of shocking, but we know that they've criminalized it in Boston, Fall River, I want to say Billerica, Worcester.
Lowell and Brockton.
Yeah, I mean, this is
Oh,
going on across the state. You will not find an unhoused person on Boston Common anymore. They boot them out and they don't care where they go.
Yeah.
And we have, by the way, had the chief sit here and say he has never arrested anybody for, you know, so we don't feel that way or we wouldn't be. But it is something to combat, obviously.
We are saying that Pittsfield is the first city in our 3-county region that's trying to criminalize, but they're not going to be the last. We all know that, so.
Positive news, Worcester is working on like a tiny home village.
Oh, yay. Can I clap?
Yeah,
Worcester is doing a tiny home village?
yeah, I honestly just skimmed this article, but I can send it out to the,
I would love to see that.
yeah.
I have friends in Worcester and I know what Worcester can be like.
Nice to have a more local example too.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
And
As opposed to Portland, Oregon.
right. Any other announcements? And then otherwise, maybe we could just hear from you about Human Rights Commission and library things.
well, basically, I'm here to find out what you're doing,
Okay.
to report back to us. And, to let them know about things like the cleanup on Saturday. But, because, one of the things we've chosen 2 things as a focus, homelessness and single payer healthcare. Because healthcare is a human right. And, it's all across the Commonwealth, people are paying up to 40% more for health insurance than they did last year, or, so it's just outrageous. So that's just a little plug for that. But basically, we just want to know what you're doing, so we don't try to reinvent the wheel. So I'm basically liaison between you and our commission.
Thank you. Feel free to talk about library now, or if we could go into survey and then.
Whatever, however, well, I have to leave about 11:15. I have no idea what time it is.
About talking about survey first, is that?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that. There's no objections, let's do that.
Okay. So we've gotten now 15 responses, which according to the point in time count is an excellent number.
That's the percentage of it, right?
Hey,
That's
it's
great.
85%.
Yay.
Yeah, and I'm sure that this is just the tip of the iceberg, but it's nice to know that we are capturing like a good portion of folks who were captured by the point in time count. I'm just going to sort of give a summary of highlights from the surveys that we have so far. I will a little bit later, once we've gotten a few more respondents, start creating like a more formal summary that will go with our recommendations to the city. But for now, this is just for us and for general information. The age range of respondents that we have right now is 22 to 77. So that is both horrifying and great. Horrifying because no 22-year-old should ever be homeless. Nobody should be homeless, but especially 77-year-olds should be homeless, right? And that's a very wide age range. And we have representation through the decades between those 2 numbers. 50% of the people who responded to the survey have been unhoused for 1 year or more. So a lot of the folks who are responding to the survey, this is a chronic situation for them. The most common service that people are reporting having is SNAP, is food stamps, which is notable because SNAP is going to be pretty severely restricted moving forward. So one of the most common things that people are saying is helpful for them and that they have access to is potentially becoming less accessible. Everyone who, of the folks who responded to the question about like, what would you like your housing situation to look like? The majority of them want a private space, the majority of them want a small space, and the majority of them use the word stable to describe the housing that they want. Nobody has responded yet and said, I would like to continue living outside.
Oh,
The barriers that people are reporting to accessing services and accessing housing, just across the board. The three most common answers were transportation, wait lists, and being in limbo. So being in this like place where they don't have a mailing address, they don't necessarily have a consistent phone, and then that affecting their ability to access anything. Everyone who has responded to the question about how is Greenfield doing supporting unhoused people on a 7-point scale gave it a 4 or below. So nobody is happy. Some people are feeling like, it could be worse, it could be better, and most people are reporting a 1 or a 2. For what can Greenfield do better? Jobs and housing. Unsurprising. But those are the repeated answers over and over again. People say, we need more jobs, we need more housing. Some people got a little more specific and said, we need more senior housing, we need more housing that doesn't require you to be clean and sober, we need housing that doesn't require you to have a clean criminal record, but jobs and housing are the two big topics. And then I wrote down a few quotes that I thought would be nice to share from like, what else would you like us to know about your experience? Somebody said, I want people to know that I'm not dangerous. Someone said, I want to do well and recover my life. And someone else said, I would like activities that let me be with the housed where I feel welcome and loved. And of the 12 people or 15 people, I guess now that we have, 3 people have left us direct contact information. And I'm not following up on any of those yet, but we do have contact information for a few people who are interested in talking to us more.
Can I add to that? That's a great report. Thank you so much. I think it's super helpful. It is, it pulls your heart out when you read these things. And I have done only 6 myself, but then I did read 4 that came from the library. I will add that one person said for 1 room to sleep in, they wanted $1,200. You had no toilet. You had to share a bathroom, share a kitchen. But they also were requiring $3,000 for first, last, and security. This particular person said, I thought that was illegal. Well, technically, if you got a private landlord and he's offering you this place to sleep and you've got, because I even asked, was it congregate living? And because this is sometimes, you do have your own toilet and your bed, but those are some of the houses that housing authorities can put you up down here, put you in Turner's. This particular person said she did have raft to help her, but there's no place. And she certainly didn't have, the raft would have helped her with probably the $3,000. And I do know of an individual who was very, very feeling unsafe and not treated well, who said he was from a service net house, refused to be there. I've heard police people speak with him too. What happened to your housing? He's now in a safe place in a hospital for now because he just kind of went missing and we were trying to figure out what happened. And unless you know a last name, you can't figure out much of anything. So I know where he is. And once you're used to seeing people all night long in the morning and whatever, and they are nowhere. And then we also realized, through Maria Burge, not showing up for meals. I will say that they're thrilled to have all the churches feeding them. And we do have some churches that have run dry and are out of money in terms of that. And that little card over there has, I think, nothing on a Friday that's an evening meal. We should spread the word that the whole city is being fed this, isn't it this Saturday?
Saturday.
The harvest, the
Yeah.
stone soup harvest thing. So maybe after we do some cleanup, what are the hours for that harvest meal in the evening?
Starts at 4.
Okay, so hopefully word will spread to them as well, and I think they will be aware of it. So the fact that we feed people is a plus. One guy needed to go over to the transition office and, I don't know, SNAP card, but he needed to get over there, but he also has a health issue that the hospital needs to deal with. So I really appreciate the quotes. Those are the ones that I remember. And there isn't anybody happy, but we do know that the chief of police said some of these people are not going to follow the rules. I heard over and over, speaking with people, they do not want a shelter. They're not safe in a shelter. They don't want to go where there's drugs and there's alcohol and there's possibly women being assaulted, is what I kept hearing. And so they just want a safe place, the privacy that Rhea's talking about. And I can't help but think, why can't we get back to an old-fashioned boarding house situation that we used to have in the past in our history, in everybody's history, where the meals are provided, or maybe no meals are. It's almost like a B&B, but you at least have a room. You can lock your belongings in there. You're safe in your bedroom. You might be sharing a shower room, a full bathroom. And somebody runs it that's caring and loving. I mean, how hard can that be? If you've got people running places, and this is maybe a rumor, but if this is one person who's filed a legit complaint that you should know about talking, because I asked it, is there a complaint that's been filed? Should be a complaint that's filed before it ever goes anywhere else. And according to him, he has. So that's the tragedy, I think, of the situation. So, sorry, I talk too much, I know, but I want people to understand. These surveys were difficult for them to do. I had to find them alone. They don't want to share their story with even a close friend of theirs. And so it's not a fast thing. If you go item by item, they know it's anonymous. They know they can skip anything. She's got several where I couldn't get an age out of anybody, but I did it in passing, walking around on the street with somebody. So thank you. And I think this is really important stuff, the survey.
How long is the survey open for? Is there a date?
We don't have a date.
Okay.
I thought we set a date and said it couldn't be just endless, but then I can't find it in my notes either.
We said like fall approximately.
We didn't set a date mostly because we don't have a date yet. That I think that when we make recommendations, that will be the date, right? But we don't have a date for that
Okay.
yet. So for now, it's open, and as much information as we can get, we want.
And are you getting the QR code or pretty much just the hard copy?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
you are.
some folks are filling it out online.
Good.
Something also that I wanted to just sort of bring up to the committee is that we have 63 partial responses on the web form. Some of those I think are probably somebody opened it, clicked through and closed it. They may or may not actually be a respondent who we want to get data from. But because I'm using essentially a free subscription of this website to use to make forms, to make surveys, I can't see those responses. But at some point before we collate the final responses and provide the recommendations to the city, I would like to figure out a way to pay for the subscription that lets us see all the partial responses so that we can gather that data. And I just wanted to sort of put that out to say, like, there is actually more data than we have. but we can't access all of those partial pieces of data yet because I don't have a subscription. But my plan is to find money to pay for that subscription for a month so that I can get all of that information and get as much data as possible to the city.
You know the cost?
Yeah, it's $89.
89.
So it's not, you know, $10, but it's also not like 500.
Thank you.
Anything else to add on survey or like library? I don't know about storage lockers.
We're curious as to if there has been any progress with the locker situation. I know I talked to the two of you last week. We are, as it gets colder, it becomes an issue where people, they don't have a place to put their belongings, and it's very difficult because we can't let them leave their belongings at the library and then they can go do their daily routes. And we had a problem last week with a newer couple who didn't realize that we closed at 5 o'clock on a Thursday night and left everything, including their phones, at the library. And we couldn't, I went outside, I couldn't find them. So luckily we put it all on a cart. Luckily, our nighttime custodian was still there when they came back. So we were able to get it to them, but it's an issue because it's not like we're going to throw everything away, but we can't and nobody else has access to the building, it's not an easy access to the building once we're closed. So, and it's also, it's a public health issue. It's an all around issue. That people can't store things there. So that's why I said that last week, and I don't know if anybody knows what's going on with the lockers, but we think it's a really important issue.
Time sensitive. So.
Well, time sensitive,
Yes.
because people need to have a place to put their life in a safe place. I get to leave my life at home, and it's safe. We are, of course, act as a cooling and warming center, during the summer, with the heat waves. We were very fortunate with the OTF and the fire department donated cases of water. So we were able to hand out cold bottles of water. We're looking into, for the winter months, especially being able to offer hot drinks. It's a work in progress. We have applied for a grant to hope that if we get it, to be able to be that stopgap during the really cold snaps, especially on, say, like a Sunday afternoon, so that we could be open for a few hours, just the front lobby, so that people could have a place to come in. We noticed it. We've been talking about it for a while. It's an issue of funding, of course, and staffing. So hopefully we will find out within the next month or so, but that way we could be a little bit of because on Sundays, there's no place for anybody really to go unless you have money, or you want to spend money. And then the only other thing is that we've gotten all the supplies we needed we're going to have about 25 backpacks that we're going to fill with personal care items, things like, reusable water bottles that we will just make available for people who need it. So we've gotten the supplies. We should have those by the middle of September available. So I'll keep you up to date. So that's everything I've got.
I want to visit the locker situation because that should have been on the agenda, like old business, follow up on kind of thing. So here's what I remember. Amy Kayoline and the mayor took it to HLC, asking could they convert some of this other money for this purpose. And I think they were waiting to hear back. I kind of thought Amy would be here,
It's
at least remotely. It is approved, but then what was left unfinished was like where? Like, and we had some controversy going on. It's like, oh, not over on Arch Street, not over here, not over, is it going to be in the garage? So who would follow up on that so that we get an answer? And how do we get an answer? We can't keep
Email.
dropping it.
I can email Amy.
Okay,
I'm talking to
I
her.
really thought she would maybe be here remotely for a minute, but then last night was a late night, so. And do we want to offer any other places? And I will just say, this is a big mess at the warming center. People brought in their whole life. It's not to be left there in the morning when they have to leave after breakfast, and it was stashed outside. One woman lost everything. I mean, we're talking about birth certificates if they were trying to prove and get an ID. But, you know, it's just thrown outside of Salvation Army for anybody to either go through. And it's so needed. And we had an offer of 2 smaller lockers from Moldavite Dreams, like a school locker. It has to be big enough for a backpack. You can't put a tent in there, but surely really important things, so they're not walking around with these huge things, you know, on their back.
Northampton has the system and they've had it in for a few years, and I think it is in one of their parking garages. Am I correct? Trying to
Yeah,
remember.
I think it is in the parking
And-
garage.
Yeah, and it was, I think Manor House really spearheaded
Uh-huh.
that. So they might be a really good group to reach out to. To reach out.
I can imagine 2 really good placements. One would be not at the skate park, but on the other side of the parking lot of the skate park, next to the parking lot that's under construction behind Wilson's. Because the Portland Blue is there, the skate park is there, there's charging available. If we were to put like a little bank of lockers and a roof with a solar panel, you automatically could have a nice like charging station set up that would mirror the charging station at the skate park. And it would be extremely accessible both on foot and by vehicle. And hard to block, basically, like it wouldn't, physical access to it would not be an issue in the way that it might be in some other spots, like the energy park. I can see that being a nice spot, but when it gets very muddy or very snowy, everywhere that you might want to put it in the energy park would become a lot less accessible. So that's location 1 that I was thinking about. Location 2 would be inside the parking garage, because the parking garage is the place where you can park overnight. And it would be then covered, right? So also fairly accessible on foot and by vehicle. It's a little bit less central to town, the parking garage itself. But if we're thinking about the places where people tend to walk from the dog park or from Energy Park, that would be actually fairly close, sort of to the route of people coming into town. So if we're just thinking about like what would make the most sense in terms of the patterns of people movement, right, that we currently have, those 2 locations, I think would be really reasonable, and it would be harder for people to argue like, oh, it's an extremely public place, like the outside of the library, and we can't have that happening downtown on Main Street, right? Because these are both.
We have no room at the library.
I'm like,
that's the bank next
door.
Where, the new bank next door, right?
But like those 2 locations, I think, it would be harder for people to put up some kind of like, think about it being a public space and therefore not a place that you'd want somebody storing their stuff.
Yeah, Reese, those are really great ideas. And when I attended to Zoom that they were getting the funding, they were saying that they wanted this committee to help advise on locations. So I think that, yeah, we'll try to
It's a
research.
great idea.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, that's on the agenda, but it's sort of under public resources and backing that up.
Let me just ask the question. So those are good ideas. So how does it get from being this idea that we all think is a wonderful idea to a reality?
I'm going to check in with Amy. And
So you're gonna give the 2 ideas of location to Amy, and then Amy will
yeah,
get back to you or us or something.
Has the funding been secured? Okay.
We never heard that.
I didn't realize.
I mean,
That's
So
good.
I didn't get back
that's
to us.
progress since the last time that we talked about this. So I think that we're,
well, there was a public hearing about the funding being
Yeah.
approved.
But it had to be approved by Boston.
Yeah.
So you're saying it did get approved by HLC.
So steps are happening.
Thank you.
Good question, Bucky.
I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I'm just wondering how many lockers?
I don't know that.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Yes.
And is the funding mostly just for like the one-time construction of them, or is there gonna be like upkeep? Okay,
We need Amy, guys.
Yes.
So sorry for that.
Well, wait, well, maybe Amy can come.
That's because that's a really good question, because I think that now that there's a number, right, there can be like budget proposals about like different ways to use that money.
And Sarah, did you send an email? Because there was 100-page document
Yes.
about Northampton.
That's what I was, you can get.
That's what I want to call your attention to,
Yes.
because I think that I know about the Manacos a little bit, but 109 pages, I'm like, okay,
Totally.
I was skimming.
How about we touch on the cleanup stuff and then we can go into this like 100-page Hampton case studies. So campsite cleanup. Want to take this?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Okay, this coming Saturday, August 23rd, we are having a campsite cleanup.
Sorry, it's okay.
We posted the last time.
Oh, it'll go back. We'll just.
Posted last time. So we got them.
Thank you.
Although this is best.
This Saturday, August 23rd, we are going to the Green River Dog Park on Petty Plain Road, and we are going to clean up the campsites of some people who are living there. Specifically, Christy Allen, committee member, is going to be our guide, and she is going to guide us through specifically what needs to be picked up. They do not have regular trash service there. They have one small can that gets picked up every once in a while, but it's insufficient. They also don't have any sanitation services. Emma has been a huge help with getting this organized. Max Webb from the Greenfield Trash Pickup Club has also been huge. Max made a poster for the event, which I don't have here, but maybe we could add it to the minutes if that's okay. Anyway, it's happening Saturday, so we would love to see you there.
10 a.m.
Yep, 10 to 2 at the dog park at Petty Plain Road. We will meet in the parking lot there. Two logistical things. First, I did manage to secure a bunch of contractor bags from Larry and the Interfaith Council. We're not going to be able to use them because we will be disposing of all the waste at the transfer station, which only accepts waste in 30 or 33 gallon bags. So I have those bags, which I will be bringing. If anyone else has 30 or 33 gallon bags, that would also be a huge help. Second thing is transport from the dog park to the transfer station. If someone has a pickup truck, that would be awesome, especially if they have a trash sticker on it. If not, I have a lead on a pickup truck, but they need it back fairly early, so we would need to, it would be a little bit more of a hassle if we had to use mine, but that's fine. That's okay. Other than that, just having more people would be more good.
And the last piece we're still figuring out is if there's any sports events on one of the fields. I reached out to someone from Parks Department, but she's off this week, so I reached out to Amy. And she is trying to get that answer for me. So as soon as we know that, I'll let Robin know.
Thank you.
Can you send me a flyer? I can put it on the community bulletin board.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
Where is it being advertised?
Mostly just in groups and
Signal.
chats and right now. So
Because
this
in the
is,
past, there was one put out by Brickett Alice.
yeah, so.
They had a huge turnout.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. This is a small, I do not expect this to be a big event. I mean, I would be excited to be contradicted in that if a bunch of people showed up, but I'm really only expecting like half a dozen, maybe a dozen people to come help, which is fine. We're only working on one campsite, right?
That's only her campsite? There are several campsites.
Yes. We are not going to clean up anybody's campsite unless Christy connects us with someone who is living there to guide, because we are not in the business of touching people's things without their stuff.
Have you checked in with
So
Zoe
this
though?
is what do you mean? How?
Like if we're only allowed to go, because I've been down there, we're only gonna do Christie's area. What about all the other people that also have trash around there?
Yes.
Wouldn't Zoe be a good liaison to try to figure out if someone else would like to
Well-
have some of their, I'm not taking personal belongings, I'm talking trash.
I know Christy would be a great liaison, and if she helps us, I have opened that route to her, and that may or may not occur. So we might be helping other people if they are there and if they're connected with Christy. But this is not, the purpose of this cleanup is not to be the end all be all that makes the dog park pristine. This is the first cleanup where we help our friend Christy right now with the problem that she is having right now. And if it goes well, then we can have future cleanups where we do more or do this more regularly. But this is very much an ad hoc thing that I'm really excited about, and we could use all the help we can get with. But we are not cleaning Greenfield with this project. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But on that note, we did meet with the Source to Sea Connecticut River Conservancy folks. And that was great because they really do want to team up with addressing river pollution and sanitation issues for unhoused folks. And so the Source to Sea cleanup, the September 27th date, saved that date for another encampment cleanup. And we're also going to do a walkthrough of the campsites with the mayor, with Amy, and that hasn't been scheduled yet, but hopefully next. And the sheriff's office is also planning cleanups with the opioid task force. And I didn't attend that meeting, unfortunately, so I don't know.
On Monday.
Yeah, did you go to that?
I did go to that.
Okay, do you know actually then what's going on with those cleanups?
Let me check my notes.
Sure, yeah.
This has been such a long week.
Real.
I think the idea,
Announced the cleanup was happening. I don't know.
I was at the meeting too. And I think
Yeah, I
they
don't-
just, they
okay.
just
Didn't
announced
share
that there
that.
is they're in a process. Their problem is staffing, if I remember, if I'm pulling it out of my memory. Yes, it was staffing and trying to find, getting the correct supplies and the vehicles, I think is what I
and
remember
collaborating
from the
with
meeting.
DPW is,
Yeah.
I think they mentioned as well, which is, similar to this committee.
Yeah.
so
I remember Jake saying, we asked
Right.
McLean, whatever, however he says his name, anyway, about an ATV. And he said they did have one, so we need to follow up. The sheriff's department has an ATV, had to do with being able to get in there. So,
yeah,
The last I heard, Jake was going to speak to his supervisor. Do we need to follow up? Have we heard anything from Jake?
I don't know. Robin, do you want to contact Jake? Because I don't know if Saturday is like too short notice for them.
Yeah, I don't expect there to be an ATV at Saturday's event.
Yeah.
So,
no,
But-
but for future
Yeah.
times, this is all to be
Uh-huh.
announced, to be determined, So
sure.
if we have access to that, I think that's gonna be helpful.
yeah, I can, when we have more details for future things, yes, I can follow up with Jake. But I don't want to call up the sheriff's department and say, hey, can we just have your truck on call? You know what I mean? That
don't know.
seems kind of silly. But yes, yeah, I can take point on that, sure.
Can I ask one question? Is there the funding for taking the trash to the transfer station? Because you have to pay it.
Yeah, I was just gonna pay for that out of pocket. If
Yeah,
someone else wanted to
okay.
contribute, that would be fine. I don't expect it to be, I mean, it's only $3 a bag, so.
Yeah.
That'll be fine. What's up, Emma?
I found my notes from the FCNQ Emergency Services meeting. So they did say they got grant resources to support the staffing component of the cleanups. There's been 4 sites that were identified by Larry and Tapestry. Tapestry also wants to put out a sharps box somewhere. But they also said that they don't want to be present at any of the cleanups because they worked hard to like build relationships and they don't want to be seen coming in with like law enforcement just because of like connotations. Larry also wants to make sure that none of the cleanups are just like running stuff over because that's what happened in the woods behind Rite Aid last year. They talked about cleaning up abandoned versus active encampments. And then kind of the like, okay, here's a trash bag, but what do you do when it gets full? How do we make sure that there's more regular pickup, et cetera? So I think that's about it.
Yeah, I feel like this is just a good example of coalition building and like all these people who players and groups and organizations coming together. And hopefully then this will lead to like a long-term sustainable approach, not just a, dealing with things after the fact. Does this feel complete on trash for now? And then we could go to,
I guess the only thing I forgot to say is we will be providing water, bug spray, sunscreen, gloves. And we will at least have me and possibly also a representative from Tapestry on site to pick up anything that our volunteers don't feel comfortable picking up on Saturday. But yeah, that's all I got.
thank you.
Yeah.
Good work. All right. I would love to screen share some things I learned from Northampton.
Can I do that?
Can you do that?
Are we coming back to the porta potties and bathrooms?
Yes, we can go into that now, even actually before, that is technically the order.
Yes.
Do you want to go talk about that?
Yeah, I do want to go about,
Yeah.
talk about
Me
that.
too.
So, in the past, I had checked out the porta potty at the dog park. I was the one that volunteered to go to the mayor's office and the financial people, which I did. And then I heard back that twice a month, those are routinely cleaned. I went this morning to all of them. I went to the one at Energy Park. That one has now got some defacing going on and smells great. I mean, I could have used it. It was all clean. And there are two now at the dog park, and there is no defacement. They had just been cleaned. It smelled like, it looked like, and so the previous pictures that we had that Christy had sent to us, those are not there. There is some defacement in the one at Energy Park. And because we don't own them, I don't know quite how to deal with that. But I didn't like what I was written all over on this side of the wall and that side of the wall. I had not gone to that one. That was the one that Wisty had complained about in the past, because she had used it to do garden work down there. So they looked great. And I had previously said, if there's a problem with a porta potty, just these specific, not the loo, I didn't go over there and I don't know even how that one works, but they're to call City Hall. You can leave a message if it's after hours and say, this one is in bad shape. Every time I have gone there, it's looked great, except for this defacing. And I will say that we have no idea who stands in there and writes disgusting stuff about the smell of a body. I don't know how it's this committee's job to clean up people's attitude about anything. There's graffiti on parts of our city downtown. There's been graffiti on the Poet Seat Tower. And how you get somebody to stop being vicious is something that I just don't think we can police it. Short of me somehow reaching a phone number for this particular porta potty and getting permission to fix it. Maybe that's why the others are gone. Maybe they have a way of scrubbing it and painting it and whatever, but when people are mean, they're mean. And they weren't brought up with the values or the ethics as maybe some other person did. So I don't know what to do about the graffiti. I don't like it. I think it's disparaging, it's disgusting. But when you're sitting in there and somebody wants to do something, what do we do about it? I've talked to Larry before about this. We've talked about educating everyone. Pick up your trash. Put your cigarette butt where it belongs. They're all over the place downtown on where the cigarette butts can now go at the city's expense. So that's just my 2 cents on the graffiti. You might have to shut your eyes, grit your teeth, use the clean facility. And we don't know whether an unhoused person did it, whether a pickleball, this morning they're all playing pickleball there at 8:30 a.m. And it could be a person that uses a dog park. There's no way to figure this out. So I don't know what to do about the graffiti, but I don't think that it's something that we can figure out other than asking people play nice in the atmosphere that we call world and life.
Anything else folks want to share about bathrooms?
I just want to say, I'm happy to hear they're clean and
Oh my gosh, I've
Yeah,
never,
that's good.
I mean, I go camping and we use porta potties and all that, and I've been at fairs.
Yes.
These have been freshly done, they're dated, you know, the 19th of August was one of them, one that was done. If I'd had I didn't have my phone on me, I was gonna like take a picture, oh my gosh, smells good, looks good, you know. Toilet paper where it belongs, Purell right there, not empty. Plenty of toilet paper there, you know, so what else can happen? Those people are servicing them.
I think I'm curious about like the seasonality of it, because it's just warm weather. So when are they going away? And then what happens?
So that's a question for the fall thing, right? We are approaching fall.
Yeah.
I don't think that stuff freezes, whatever that chemical is, right?
It's true, but I think they just haven't historically been keeping a bathroom in the
In either of the places?
in
So
winter.
it's the Portland Loo or nothing?
I think so.
Okay.
It's generally what it's been.
And while we're on this particular topic, since they're talking about body odor, for example, every time we keep talking about showers. And they do have showers at CSO. And I don't know if you have to be a member of CSO and registered with CSO to walk in there and say, may I take a shower?
I think you do.
I think you do. I think you have to fill out paperwork, right?
Yeah, but you can do the paperwork in their drop-in center, is my understanding. But still.
In Arch Street, where the showers are?
Oh.
Okay. Because we don't ask them any questions when they come to the warming center. There's towels,
Yes, I know.
one at a time, that kind of stuff, but those are the only two places that I know of. And then we've talked about, I think, a $50 to $75 portable shower. And again, with the winter coming, I don't know how, you're not gonna wanna have that bottle of water freeze. Bring the.
Speaking of that, is there been any further discussion on a water station at the community police station?
Yes.
Really? How good.
Oh,
I
good.
love that.
I spoke with a cop who was stationed outside the substation as it's still getting sort of up and running fully. He hadn't heard about this idea, but we talked it through and he was very much in support of it, said that he would talk to Chief Dodge. His concern was that during the winter, it's possible that things would freeze. If there was an exterior spigot of some kind. And we sort of popcorned a few ideas about how to help that not happen because it's a very solvable problem. That's the last contact that I've had about it. That was about a week ago.
Okay, because I remember at the GBA meeting about the community substation, I think the chief actually brought it up saying we can put in a water station. So he is aware of it. He might have actually helped to spearhead that discussion.
And this building is open all winter long and the filling.
Not
thing-
overnight.
Yeah, not overnight, but if you come in till 5 o'clock, they have the place for you, to fill your water bottle. You
Totally.
kind of have to think ahead,
Yeah, the library has two also.
right? I've seen
One
them.
on each floor, but when we're open.
Yeah, I just feel like having, we don't have any outdoor water refill station that's 24/7 access, and that would be a good goal. Ideally close to a campsite too, in addition to downtown locations.
Yeah.
But it is hard with plumbing.
Yeah.
Beyond me.
None of my.
Oh, come on, be a plumber, Sarah.
Yeah, so I think those would be good things for research. Bathrooms through winter and outdoor water refill. That's 24/7 access. But we can get into like delegating this research in this next bucket of just thinking about the public resource mapping. Could I share this?
You should be able to know.
Okay, let's try and do this. So I feel excited about this I'm gonna close so you don't see how many emails I have. Okay, so this is a report from Smith College from a few years ago. And this was part of like the resilience hub planning process. RIP, yeah, exactly RIP. But I think there was a lot of good stuff in here that we can use for examples. So I'll just bring our attention to a few of these. So Portland Blue, check, we've done that. We could do more. But this I thought was a good example of showing a cool mapping of the downtown businesses and how they relate to their bathroom policy. So even just like, do they have an ambiguous policy? Is it customers, patrons only? Is it employees only? Is it no entry? Or is it a public bathroom? So I think this is a helpful thing for even us to map out about which businesses allow folks. And then based on this, then they came up with where are there a lack of bathrooms? So like the 100-foot buffer area around existing public bathrooms. So I thought that was interesting. And then I'm just gonna skim, sorry for chaos. I could have screenshotted it, but I'm doing it this way. So yeah, back to more public bathrooms. They also looked at this location factor, looking at public urination complaints by the police department, and then using that data as to where to locate bathrooms. And also with streetlights, and also looking at proximity to. So this is an example of a bathroom, the Tokyo toilet that's like designed to be like central, but like you don't linger because it's like really visible, but it's still like a beautiful artistic sculptural piece. So I just thought that that was sort of interesting. And this, so yeah, so we already looked at this. The community toilet scheme is what this is called, of like when you're using existing businesses that have bathrooms or existing public spaces, not just creating new bathrooms. So that was what I thought was interesting about bathrooms. But then there's also wayfinding signs. And also you can feel free to like stop on anything, but I'll go back to the wayfinding signs part. Sorry if this is chaos because it's scrolling. Okay, here we go, wayfinding. So this is their resource card. We have a 413 cares, the yellow thing on the bulletin. Then they updated it to be even clearer for this to be the resource card. And then they worked on a mapping project where they showed locations and then had identified what was at those locations. So I think this is something, this is just an example of what a resource card map could look like. Because we had started that last time. I don't know if you weren't here, so you didn't see.
No, but
Oh,
we
you did.
have a resource card that's very similar to the Northampton model.
Yeah, the 413 cares one on the bulletin board.
No, it's actually a small little handout that we make available that you can put in your pocket. I will send you,
Oh,
I
great.
just wrote,
Oh, thank you.
send you a current copy. We don't have a map.
Yeah.
And that's a good idea, but we have we have the food pantries.
Are you talking about one that the library has created?
This one, yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
we've
this is-
updated it
Oh, okay.
recently.
Okay.
Christian LaPlante, when he left, he handed it all to me.
Oh, you're the holder now of,
I'm the holder.
well, that's really good to know. Yeah.
Yes, well, because we probably distribute more of them.
Yeah.
But I've also given it to the sheriff, to Jake and to Zoe, so that I give them copies so that they can hand them out when they're out. So it's changed a little bit. We changed it, made it a little bit, it's now a trifold, so that you can actually read it a little bit better. And without a magnifying glass. So I will send a copy of it.
That's amazing.
And I know that we're due for an update. So what I will do today, I just need to contact, because when you were talking about some of the churches are out of funds, I need to double check with them to make sure they're still offering their services.
And Amy is already making some changes to this.
Oh, good.
Knows that before what she just told me recently is she's got to think about the fall now that it's August. But for example, Maria Burge has said they serve an evening meal at 5 every Thursday, not, that had to be changed. So we've been handwriting that. And also we had to take off Days Inn Family Shelter because we know that's going to be a Marriott. But I asked Amy recently about the intake number and she said that's still valid. So I don't know, I guess it's who that rings into.
Yeah.
But she's the one that said she's going to make some changes. And I said to her, it's very confusing because there's the two Catholic churches, this one and that one. And it will say on there to go to the one on Federal Street. And Maria says, I didn't set that up. That's just the way the two Catholic churches. But everybody who knows on Thursday, it'll be at this church down here on Main Street. And I said to Amy, that's confusing for someone that's new here. That's why we really want a map with not just street numbers, but
Yeah.
what do you call it? You know,
Landmark?
yes, landmark things. So
Yeah, like the way,
Maria's church used to serve, I think, the second, the fourth, and the fifth Thursday, but now it's every Thursday. And as far as I know, they're
And
not,
that's the one on Main Street.
that's right down here, right,
And
Main
'cause the
Street.
one on Federal, I thought was doing this Saturday or Sunday lunch. They were, at least in the fall, I don't know if they still were, they were doing a lunch drive-through pickup.
Did they also have a pantry there at the Federal Street one? Do I remember that right? I know the Silver Street one does, but that one's farther.
And then I think the
This
St.
one, I don't
James
see
is
the pantry there. There's a
Oh,
pantry
okay.
down on the
And
one.
they're ending their Monday night
Yes,
meals.
Which one is
Right.
ending? St. James is
St.
ending
James,
on Monday nights.
yes.
And that's one of the complaints when people say, oh yeah, we get a lot of places to eat, but then it's like, there's nothing except lunches on Fridays. So you can go to Salvation Army for lunch. Well, that's breakfast, sorry, 8:30, and then 11:30 Salvation Army serves a lunch.
Well, now somebody
Then
else
there's
is-
nothing Friday evenings. They do know about stone soup, I think, on Saturdays. Most people do, but if you're new, this new couple that came in, they wouldn't have any idea about where any food is. St. James is on Sunday at noon. I don't know if that's
I
accurate
don't think
because I
that's-
thought they
that's-
ran out of money. St.
Yeah,
James,
they have changed it. That's,
yeah, so
I'll
this
send
is
them
why
a copy.
Amy
I'll send
is
them perfect.
reaching out to people and say,
Yeah.
this has to be fixed.
yeah.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Thanks, but it's great to have, and thank you for making it bigger, readable.
Well, yeah, it just, yeah, it's hard to read.
Yes,
And I talked to the chief of police once and he said we could certainly laminate them because they're getting soaking wet and then you can't.
Right, that's a good idea too.
So
And so I think the
forgetting
maps
about lamination.
would fit in nicely with this too.
Yeah.
So something else we can look at. So this is more of a budget expense, but wayfinding signs. These are some examples. So you could have, so these are like the considerations, like where are people, what are well-structured paths? And then they were identifying sites for signage. And then they proposed some locations and these are like some sample signs. So that's just something we could think about as more of like a stretch goal. And then something else I thought was really good in this packet is the permanent site for temporary structures. So this is back to the sanctioned encampment, village model, pocket, affordable housing, whatever the hell you want to call it. This thing, this is like this project. Thank you for being here.
No problem.
bye.
See you all later.
And so these are some other case studies of it happening. Camp Hope and in Ontario, Canada. And then I really liked their site selection process for Northampton. And this is, I think, is what we need to do because we were just looking at like public land. But I think what this is like where they chose key resource areas and then they did a within a half mile and 1 mile buffer zone. And then they also looked at the existing bike trails and PBTA route and floodplain, important. And then also either green space or city-owned parcels. So I am hoping, I asked someone to help with this mapping part of it, but I think maybe the original conception was like, let's just find some public land. And maybe the conception now is like, let's identify sites that like we can map out well that fit these criteria. And then from there, we can like see who owns it a little bit too. Like we could, like, I think making it happen, the municipal support side of it is like zoning, for sure. We need that to be able to have like a village model. And maybe there can be partnership with like trash pickup, but not necessarily like relying on public land because it also might not even be the ideal site. So just, I think maybe we need to like back up a bit and do a bit of this kind of mapping analysis for site selection.
That was also part of when Robin and I went and looked at a bunch of different sites. That was part of our consideration. We didn't do it by this process, but like there was a site that we looked at that could potentially, just looking at the site, have been a really nice fit, but it was too far from everything. And so it didn't even make our list.
Totally. Yeah, we definitely were considering access to, and I don't want to call it amenities, just resources downtown and transportation. But I think,
Yeah.
but I think this is like a cool way of the map, just like spitting it out.
Yeah. They use GIS to make that.
I don't know, like Mass Mapper, GIS, I'm not sure. But I asked a mapping type person, so we'll get help hopefully. And then also just something else to call attention to in this packet that I thought was cool. Is, and then it's the last thing. I thought this was cool, the small home community on the far wooded side of the property. So 3 sets of small home communities with 5 homes, each providing separation, privacy, and community. This feels exactly like what people ask for, small, private, stable. For multiple or single occupancy. And then I've just been seeing other studies about this and how people like when they can customize their unit, like if the beds are movable and like they have autonomy, and that's like for like trauma informed design. And they also don't want it to be like boxy. Like if you can make it like jutting out pieces or like anything to add some stylistic elements, or it's not just like.
So Sarah, is this
A
something
prison
they're
cell.
considering? Is this Northampton is considering this? Is this why?
I
It's part of this thing?
I would say that Northampton has not implemented these things, but.
This was a proposal as an option.
Yeah.
from them.
Okay, yeah, that's
From the
what I.
site.
But this is
Find out.
incredibly affordable, like for a 480 square foot green infrastructure home, cost was estimated at. Yeah. So it'd be 20,000. So for 5 homes, 100,000. It's like, this is. And it's like, I'm sure you could get so much donated labor. You could have the Franklin County Tech School, you could have maybe Habitat help in,
Humanity, yeah.
like GCC, like there's really just so many potential partnerships. I think if we worked on having the right zoning for that, like we don't have tiny, so this is just.
Can I ask about, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all. This just, I think that this is like an inspiring way of like something we could do.
Collecting and presenting information.
Yeah,
I would love to see this kind of stuff presented publicly, because I think a lot of people are not sitting down and watching us
right.
after the fact. Yeah, I'm positive. But also, you were at the initial meeting about a waiver and liability and all of that. So I know
Right.
they came around that at Dignity Village. So is that something that, I think that's something to really take a deep dive into before we start doing
Yeah.
all this other
And I
thing. We
have.
talked about getting private people involved instead of looking at the public town hall land.
The liability solution that Dignity Village uses is that they have, the city owns the land, the nonprofit leases the land, they're obligated to maintain their 501c3 nonprofit status, and they're obligated to have this contract, and there's an indemnification clause to hold the city harmless for anything. And then also they have to maintain an insurance policy and absorb any liability and risk.
So the pooling people living there absorb this policy amount?
No, the nonprofit, and the nonprofit is made up of the community members, like the self-governance of the community members, like they elect within the community people to be on, they serve on the nonprofit board.
Because I don't think that's been explained to municipal.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a puzzle piece that really is critical.
Yeah, it's
To
just,
have run past us, the city attorneys.
right, it's just a contract with an indemnification clause, a nonprofit and with their own insurance policy. It's like not insurmountable. That's normal legal schools.
So would we just want to set up a meeting and run that past people? Or
I feel
Like-
like I would like to do the site selection mapping, and then if there's really public land that's like ideal, then that makes sense. And if there's also private land that makes sense, also talking to those owners. So I feel like this project is maybe slightly outside the scope of this committee. It's partly in the scope of this committee, but the scope of the committee is for sure at least the zoning.
Well, but that's the recommendation that goes back to city council, am I right?
The zoning, yeah.
All of this, like the
Well, I mean,
whole
I feel
thing
like-
is gonna have to go to them and then it's gonna have to go to A&O and
Right,
ordinance
but I mean,
and
like-
zoning.
Totally, but the village model of like, who's gonna, the coalition building that would be necessary to create that, like, I feel like that's not necessarily completely situated here, if that makes sense, like, that's gonna be like, I don't know, whoever wants to, it doesn't have to be on camera in these recorded meetings, like whoever wants to work on it, ideally, like people with lived experience, like Christy is like, I want to do a tiny home village, so it's like how, like, folks being part of the planning process, like that's a whole thing, but we can set up the conditions so that that can happen.
Sounds wonderful. I'm very impressed. This is, and you're right. I mean, I'm happy when you talk about the various dimensions, both bringing in private and public, just an amazing opportunity for collaboration to really be in the forefront of this. We hear that Pittsfield has just criminalized being unhoused, and we're talking about how to enhance the lives of people who are currently unhoused. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Sarah, we're almost out of time, but do we want to say anything about some of like the individualized work that has been happening around some of the recommendations and like getting closer to having something to bring back to the whole committee?
I was okay to just like table it to next time, but just the fact that we were co-working on things and
I think that just like
that's all, that we are
there is
working.
other progress happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been waiting for the email you told us about last time. And you
It's
said, oh, I'm gonna
it's in
email
the
it to
notes
you.
now.
Huh?
It's in the notes now.
It's in the bottom of the notes?
Yeah.
Underneath minutes going back. Okay.
But I didn't
Kind
send
of
it out.
expecting it to be in my
I didn't
inbox.
send it out because just it kept changing and growing. So I was like, I'll just send it when it's like more of whatever.
Okay,
But the version that was screen shared did get sent out in the meeting minutes.
okay, I didn't scroll down far enough. Okay, thanks.
But yeah, we're meeting with FERCog also. So I think if we choose a next meeting time, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, whatever, and then if there's any steps that people want to say that they plan on doing in between, that'd be cool. But if there's not steps, that's okay too.
So we're looking at September, what?
Although we're almost in September.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, it's back to school night they already had over there. at
Can I propose the 11th?
That works well for me.
So that's 3 weeks out.
I already have it in my phone for some reason.
I have it too. I guess
Because Tammy always says, well, about every 2 weeks or something. I guess that's confuses. me
okay,
too.
so that's 3 weeks from now. Does that work for folks?
Yes.
I'm not usually on like a 3-week meeting cadence. I feel like everyone does 2 weeks, 4 weeks, but we're on a 3-week schedule. So quirky.
2 weeks in the first week of school.
Yeah.
So I'd rather not.
What was the date?
The 11th.
The 11th.
I have to leave.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say, we probably should find out whether Jake and Zoe can also make that date?
Yes.
Because it's good to have one or the other here. Thank you, Paco.
So we'll plan on.
Good one.
And I guess my question too is, has anybody ever thought to invite anybody from CSO or ServiceNet to any of
I
these?
haven't. Do you have folks you would recommend inviting?
Yeah, I mean, I have the contact information for most folks at CSO, but not ServiceNet as much. We don't work with them.
I'd like to invite one of the Tapestry service or like
Yeah.
coordinators to our next meeting. And I think maybe it would be nice to have both Tapestry and CSO at the table for that meeting.
And I have a Tara Trismiskas that's running the recovery project as a volunteer coordinator, but I don't know if that's like just too many. I don't know. I mean, I met with her and she's doing a whole lot of stuff
Sorry.
as well, so
I
we
think it
want to
might
just
be,
use a couple of people.
well, my hope would be at the next meeting that we have,
Oh, there's important.
thank you, Wood. My hope would be that at the next meeting, we have a framework of recommendations to, that we're considering making to the city, and that we might be able to say to the recovery project and CSO and Tapestry, do you feel like there's anything that's really missing here? Like, are you seeing a gap in what we are recommending that you are currently trying to accommodate through other services? That would be my hope for our next meeting.
But wouldn't we look at it before we said to these outside groups, this is what we're gonna thinking of?
So what I'm saying is we could say, here's what we are talking about recommending. Do you think that there are things that we need to add? Not, here's our recommendation, what do you think? But are there gaps in our perspective based on the fact that we're not clinical service providers?
Like a first draft.
Yes.
That seems good. That seems like a good idea. Also, just to read from the chat. The Mayor's Domestic Violence Task Force is about to release a walking map that shows social service agencies. So we should definitely talk to them. Thank you for that idea. And then ServiceNet, I guess that's what that means. ServiceNet outreach on Prospect Street is the number. Ask for the director. So,
And WID works at ServiceNet still.
Service has outreach.
Oh, I think so.
Love learning new things.
No, remember we talked about duplication?
feel free to chime in.
A lot of different people don't know who's doing what.
Elliot does outreach too. If we want to get,
ServiceNet on 13 Prospect Street works with, is subcontracted from the Department of Mental Health where I work. And the outreach program works with people in the community, including some of the homeless people. Some of the homeless people that you guys have interacted with and seen are actually DMH and ServiceNet clients as well. That's why they complain about the person who left the ServiceNet house and that sort of stuff. So calling the Prospect Street outreach program and talking to them, if you're trying to get ServiceNet's feedback, might be a place to start.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. And we'll just keep on keeping on. That seems like that. There a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? There we go. Thank you
Great.
for being here.